if they want to. Talk don't bother me. I want the whole wide world to know that I love you so. Let them whisper, for they know not what's between you and I. I'll keep on loving you until the day I die.
And welcome to Let 'Em Talk. I'm Paul DeRienzo.
And I'm Miss Joan Moossy, and we have a wonderful show for you tonight.
All right, a great guest, a real exciting multimedia photographer show, and that means we have tons of great big photographs.
Yeah, there's some
and the
wonderful
photographer
prints.
here is Ves
Pitts. That's right.
And Ves Pitts is, well, read about it. That's a fascinating, because Ves, you wrote that yourself, and you're a photographer
yes.
and artist. Tell us about the show.
Okay, so he's got a show coming up.
Yeah.
in
It's at
2
the
days.
Christopher Henry Gallery. It's at 550 West 29th Street, which is in Chelsea near 11th Avenue. And it's my first solo show at the gallery, and so I'm very excited. And I'm a photographer. Most of the work is color stuff, but today I'm going to be showing you some black and white stuff that is not in the show, and a couple of pieces that are also in the show. But I'm very excited.
And by the way, we'll be taking your calls because we're here live in the studios, and you can look right down here and see our number, 212-757-1538. And a little later in the show, we'll be taking your calls. So,
And right now, I'd like to read a description of Ves's work, because it's very interesting and very well put.
Yes.
Ves Pitts' exhibition is a collection of Baroque photographs that explore a kaleidoscope of macabre places and erotic personas. From the dark cavernous clubs of New York and Amsterdam to the elaborate religious shrines of Rome, Mr. Pitts has documented a variety of the eccentric that reflects on art history and early silent cinema. Inspired by the cabinet of Dr. Caligari and Hieronymus Bosch's Garden of Earthly Delights, Mr. Pitts adds a hint of Southern Gothic debauchery to create photographs that float in and out of the unconscious and authentic truth.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, that's it.
And you're obviously from the South.
Yeah, I'm from a small town in Alabama.
Alabama?
Yes.
And were you educated in the South as well?
Pretty much. I've been in New York for 12 years, and but I've lived other places before I moved here. But I still consider most of my roots, and a lot of my artistic roots, were generated in the rural South. But I feel like since I've been in New York, I've been working on projects, mainly working in the erotic realm, and working with a lot of different people, and it's kind of changed. But I do feel an affiliation with both the rural South and also the stuff out of New York. And now, more recently, I've been shooting in Amsterdam in Italy, and I'm going to be going to Istanbul later in the year.
Wonderful.
How long have you been taking pictures for?
I'd say about 20 years. But before that, I was a painter, so I kind of evolved into taking pictures and stuff.
What was your first picture? The first picture that you did as a professional photographer?
Well, I'm kind of funny. I don't think I'm really a professional photographer. I think I just stick to what I believe in. But the first time I was doing photographs was to document my paintings. But, you know, then it just evolved into kind of photographing. I used to go to clubs and photograph like drag performances when I was in Daytona Beach, Florida. And then I moved from there to more stuff when I came up here and worked on projects in New York stuff.
Well, let's
look at
some of your material. There's one right behind us, actually. What's right behind us on the screen?
Well, the picture right behind us was taken this year in Paris.
What is it? It's skeletons of dinosaurs, right?
Well, it's actually taken at the Natural History Museum in Paris, which it's an older natural history museum, and it's all the animals are in one area, unlike the one in New York that is more like they have different areas in which they set up scenes. In this one, you can see all the bones and skeletons were in one arena, and I was very fascinated on how it looked like extinction and how all the animals together, it really gives the quality of the bones and stuff like that.
It was an amazing picture. How do you take a picture like that? That's not a snapshot. How did you set that up and take it and get the lighting and all?
Well, the lighting actually comes from the windows. You can see from the top of it, there's a lot of windows in the building, and light was pretty good that day. So in that case, I didn't really use a tripod. I just used the camera I had, and I had a speed film that could do darker environments.
Yeah, what type of camera do you use, or do you have more than one?
I do have several cameras. In this case, I use this Mamiya 6x7, which is it's kind of the medium format. But recently, I've also been using an 8x10 and my first digital camera, which has been interesting to see how each camera works in different ways, and how each I can either take out or I can take and work in my studio if I shoot there.
Well, let's look at some examples here. You have a beautiful one right up front.
Beautiful, big print.
Well,
tell us a little bit about
this one is actually taken. I wanted to get one that was taken when I was in the rural South. This was done. It's called the Turnip Man and His Wife, and it was this couple I knew in my hometown, and I just really liked the couple. I was riding my bike one day and I met him, and I wanted to photograph them, and I was using a medium format camera, and it was just, I like the rural South. I like how the images of people can be a really good portrait, and so I took that picture, and I like I say, I wanted to show something that from my early days before I moved to New York, and that's an example of one picture.
It's beautiful.
The second picture I have is actually a more recent one. It was taken from in Milan. There's a cemetery in Milan, and if you've been to Italy, I like to photograph cemeteries throughout the world. But the cemeteries in Italy are really beautiful. They're all like lined up and everything. And I like this cemetery in Milan. It's beautiful. But I loved just that it looks like a crib that looks into another room of a crib. So this image really I liked a lot. And I got some, other good pictures from the cemetery. A lot of my work deals with sex and death and how death is looked at and how we build memorials to death around the world. And I started doing that, like I said, in the Deep South, and I've continued that. And in my show, I have a couple of images that deal with aspects of death and memorials and stuff.
Now, you've also been in Rome.
Yes, Rome I totally love.
We adored Rome, too.
Yes.
And Naples, too.
Rome.
This was a picture I took in Paris. I was walking around a part Paris, and it's a doll hospital, and it's this guy, this really sweet old man was like fixing all these dolls. So there was like millions of little parts and bits and pieces of dolls, and this is one of the pictures I got of this quaint little great little hospital in Paris. One of the many things you find in places like Paris and Italy, you know.
It's fascinating, all those components.
I know, and it's like it had been there for 40 years and had like millions of little things, and he could go anywhere to pick out a little piece of a doll to go on to another piece of a doll, and he was really quite sweet.
I have to thank you for these beautiful large prints. It's just wonderful. Now this is more my stuff I've done since I've been in New York. I've worked a lot with different people, and one of the people I worked with is filmmaker Maria Beatty. She's out of Paris, but this is she had done a porn shoot, and this is a friend of ours named Diva, and this was at the Hotel Chelsea, and Diva just was so sexy and beautiful. I just love her to death. So after the shoot, I did some pictures of Diva and just sitting around the room, and this is one of the pictures. Such an extraordinary woman and a wonderful person, both her and Maria. They've been incredible influence on me. And I think that picture has an iconic quality. It has that old Hollywood glamour kind of a look to it.
Yeah, I can There's one thing, it's a very sexiness that I love. I mean, this woman is an incredibly sexy woman, and I really like that. I don't try to clean up and my images. I let people kind of be what they want to be, and that's why I like to work with certain people a lot.
Yeah, do you use the same models over and over, or is that something that you do?
A lot of times I do. I like to use people over and over. I can kind of get a sense of who they are.
Sure.
And we can come up with new ideas. I did this recent shoot called The 3 Moons of Susie Luna, and it was a friend of mine who dressed in drag, but each shoot became a different identity and became a different approach to this one person. So, but it was kind of the same look in a lot of different ways, but different with the person's personality and stuff.
Do you find it difficult or easy or moderately difficult to support yourself as doing these kind of photographs?
Well, I mean, yes. I work, and I mean, I don't do fashion shoots or ways in which a lot of people do. I work in another type of job. I was fortunate. I did come into some money recently that has enabled me to travel and do stuff, and do the kind of work and have the show that I'm having. It takes money to have a show.
Sure, to make big prints like this.
And folks who are out there who might be looking at this artwork and saying, wow, maybe I could do something like that. This is something that you do out of your love for it. You don't expect to...
Don't expect that's anything you do. I mean, I don't really think you can be a musician and entertainer. But the good thing is in New York, you do have an opportunity to maybe get it out there. Right. But you have to have a love for it because, if you don't, it's just...
Now tell us again when people could see some of your work. On Thursday, there's an opening of a show.
Yes, the big show will be up, and the show at the Christopher Henry Gallery will be up from Thursday to October the 10th. And that show, if you're in New York, you can see it. I'm having 2 other shows in late October. One is in Amsterdam at the Black Tulip, which is kind of a hotel gallery there. I'm very excited about that. I'm going to Amsterdam for that show. And at the same time, the same weekend, I am having a show in at the Antebellum Gallery, which is in L.A. There are going to be 2 or 3 pieces there, and it's called Modern Heretics.
What's the attraction of Amsterdam?
Wow, Amsterdam.
How'd you wind up in Amsterdam?
Well, Amsterdam, I love its decadent qualities for sure, and it's beautiful, and I mean, I do go a lot.
It's so reminiscent of New York too, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's small, and I mean, it's very free-loving and free-spirited, and I mean, if you've ever been there, you know why you go there. But, I do go a lot to Paris too. That's one other city. I'd love to go to Paris. I mean, it's a lot.
So even though you're from the rural South, there's an attraction to large cities.
Yes, I'm either attracted to very large cities or small rural areas. I'm not a suburban.
Now, I heard through the grapevine that you do collages of cities that's sort of like a map from your memory.
I did that a long time ago. I worked on maps, a lot of them. I still got them in my house. But then all of a sudden one day I stopped and moved on. I think it's maybe when I get older and I can't get out of the house. And
go back to the maps.
I start painting again, where I can't move around. But right now I can still move a lot.
Well, are we feeling adventurous?
Sure, let's take a phone
go to the
call.
phones. 212-757-1538.
Call us up, and don't forget to turn down your TV.
Yes, turn down your TV. You're on.
Hello?
Hi, how are you guys doing
Good,
tonight?
how are you?
Hello.
Listen, I had a question for your guest.
Great.
Hello. Hi, how are you guys doing tonight?
You gotta turn down your TV.
Being from the South, yes? Hi, how are you guys doing? I'm actually from the South, yes? And I was wondering how you guys
I don't think he's got it there. Sorry.
He's replaying it over.
Well, he's from the South. Hello.
That's that much we know. So, hey, hon.
Right, and we'll try again. We'll take your calls at 212-757-1538. This is Let Them Talk. And I'm Paul DeRienzo, Miss Joan Moossy, and Ves Pitts is our guest, and we're talking about his work as a photographer, as an artist photographer, and his view of the world. And he's got a gorgeous view. We showed some of his work. We'll show some more before the half hour's out, but we want to take your calls if you have any questions about the type of work that Ves does. And
where to see it.
What have you. We'll take your
go.
call. And somebody was on. There you go. You're on.
Hello?
Hello?
Hi.
Yes.
Hey, I was wondering about like traveling, and how do you see artwork as different, like in Europe?
I don't
Well,
know.
he's asking about comparing artwork in Europe and the United States.
Oh, in Europe and the United States?
Okay.
I like taking. I think that you should be taking more pictures because pictures is like fun to like see stuff like
That's right, yeah, it is.
She wants to see more
It
pictures.
is a lot of fun.
But go ahead and answer the question about the comparison in Europe, because I thought that was an
Shooting or
interesting...
showing or trying. Well, I think in Europe, one thing, is that you have a lot of different cosmopolitan cities that, like London is a very powerful city and has a lot of galleries and stuff. But it can be very hard to, if you're trying to have an exhibition in different places. In the same way, I don't show in Chicago because I don't know anybody there. But, I like to go to Europe more because there's just diversity of things. And also my work is kind of geared toward that kind of work.
Well, it's old
Yeah,
style in that sense, too.
Yeah, I like decadence. I like faded decadence.
Okay, then we should talk about New Orleans.
So I am going to New Orleans. I've spent a lot of time in New Orleans, and I haven't been back since the flood, and I'm very a little, scared and excited about going back.
When do you plan to go?
I'm actually going 2 days after the opening. I decided I want to get out of town, and I have a lot of friends there, so it's going to be very exciting.
You're bringing your camera? Are you gonna do
I'm going to be shooting a lot, but I'm kind of shooting. I don't know. I don't really want to shoot people. I have an idea what I want to shoot, but the shooting there will also be in response to also shooting in Istanbul. I have this idea about loneliness and how a loss of a city and a loss of people, which I kind of got from my early work in the South and in here. Some of the work, the more kind of darker stuff can be about this like lostness that I feel like my work is about.
Well, should we show some more photographs?
You also try one more call.
Okay, try that.
You're on.
Hello?
Yeah, hi. I'm actually a big fan of Ansel Adams. I'm not sure how familiar with his work you are, but I was wondering, was he an influence?
He's asking if Ansel Adams was an influence on you.
I would say not that much. I do appreciate his work. I think his work is quite beautiful, but mainly his work is landscapes, and they were Western.
Who would you say has influenced you? Of other artists, not necessarily has to be
I'm kind of influenced by a lot of different things. Like I said, like you read in the card, I've been very influenced by early silent movies like The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
What is that? Explain that movie for folks who might not have seen that movie. I actually saw Fritz Lang's movie, Late Night TV, just a few months ago. It's went on forever, but it's this apocalyptic world.
One thing I really love about that and Metropolis and stuff is that there seemed like a continuation of stills images. And the sets were kind of very primitive. It wasn't like modern movies now that are just so computerized. There's this kind of element of like things happening really oddly. And in the movie of The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, if you've seen the movie, it's a dream and a dream. And that's what I think a lot of my photography is, especially the erotic stuff, is kind of an oddity of about a dream, of something that you're not there, like this new piece.
Yeah, let's take a look.
Let's take a look at this.
This piece was, I sometimes shoot people and leave the camera open for a while, and it's a piece of two friends of mine, and basically he's giving the other one a haircut, but because of the way it looks, it has, to me, connotations about, death and how death comes in and takes somebody's soul away. And the hand is the part I really love. And I really love this image. This one's in the show, but you know, and that's where I get back to like the early silent movies. There's this kind of movement takes place, things happen, but not everything is perfect, and I really do love that about that cinema, and that's been a big influence. People like Hitchcock have been influenced. Writers like Paul Bowles and Flannery O'Connor from the South, if you've never read her. I like things that are simple but also shocking, you know, and so these are, you know, I'm continually, the music of Patti Smith, I love her. I'm totally influenced by a lot of different ranges of things. Mm-hmm. This is actually an image that is on in a catalog, and this is, you know, two women, you know, and it's kind of like a connotation they had sex, and I just like this. Well, I love where her hand is. I think it's just extremely erotic, and I love the power of both of them, and the beauty and the silkiness of her skin, how her face looks, and I don't know, a lot of it is just, you know, there's not really words, and other people, I want people who see my work to have their own ideas about the work. Sure. And that's what I do like about it, you know, so.
Well, that's the wonder of having an exhibition, is that more people than just your friends get to come and see. Now let's reiterate about when the opening is. It's this Thursday.
It's this Thursday from 6 to 9. Okay. It's at the Christopher Henry Gallery. It's at 550 West 29th Street near 11th Avenue. And the show will be up until October the 11th.
Mm-hmm. We'll all be there.
There'll be a lot of there'll be, you know, stuff. There's a lot of color stuff. There's a lot of newer stuff from Italy. I'm very excited about the show. I mean, it's like, it's a lot to get a solo show together. And
absolutely.
You
and
know,
we have another phone call. Should we try that?
Oh, yes, we do. You're with us.
Hello?
Yeah, I had a question about shooting in digital as opposed to film.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead.
And I was wondering, like, is it hard to capture that film look on?
I think he's trying to ask a question. They're an interesting question.
Is it hard to capture the film
digital? I mean, I think it seems like in the future, not for maybe the next 10 or 15 years, but everything is heading toward digital. But the one thing is the process itself sometimes. The one thing, film slows down your ability to take a picture. Digital, you can click, 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 which is good. I mean, you can do it with film too. But right now, unless you got a very expensive camera, digital camera, you can't get the quality that you can with like a 35 millimeter negative. The negative is still, I think, very powerful.
Do you print your own work, or?
I print my own work.
You do?
I do. I think, you know, at any stage now, I would use anything. But if you're starting out, you know, you should do whatever, you know. Sure. You got to be your own boss, figure out things. You got to shoot a lot. But I would shoot both, since you can right now, shoot both digital and a negative. But there's another process of how you store it that I've learned. You know, if you have sleeves to keep negatives in, that's different than having things on a computer. Mm-hmm. And you have to think about it differently. And that kind of approach, you know, can be different. As I feel like I'm, as an artist, I kind of like having a big negative to look at, to think about. And also, in my negatives, actually I have a picture a little farther back that I'd like to show. It's a clock.
That's a great picture.
That's the one behind it. This one behind it. This picture here was done with film. And what happened is my camera didn't advance. So two negatives were sandwiched on the thing. So it became a very odd picture. Digital wouldn't allow that. Digital is so precise. But because the camera sometimes messes up, my mess-ups can be quite extraordinary. And that's the process that I like to keep open, to let the process do itself. And so that is one of more of my street things that I've done in New York. But that's with an old film camera. I'm showing that.
Show this one. Mm-hmm.
This actually is a very good friend of mine. Sparky. I'm putting it on my head. This isn't my body, though, okay? This is a very good friend of mine in New Orleans who
Okay. You're gonna go visit?
go visit, and his name is Sparky. And I love one thing about tattoos, old tattoos, is that they're separated and they're little things. And you can see he had a little nipple inflammation, but I love the ship. I really, but
Traditional.
I love this picture a lot. This one's not in the show. This will probably be in the show in Amsterdam, but I really like just the simplicity of the tattoo body.
Didn't Popeye have a tattoo like that?
Now remind us of the 3 shows you have coming up. We have one in 2 days at the Christopher Henry.
Christopher. And the other one's at the Black Tulip in Amsterdam. And that's October, the late part of October. It's a full month. And then one will be at the Antebellum Gallery, run by Rick Castro. He is a photographer in LA, and that's going to be, the opening is October the 28th, and it's called Heretics Today, or something like that. Modern Heretics, that's it. Something like that.
The phones are lighting up. We'll give it another shot.
Sure, absolutely.
You're with us.
Hello?
Yeah, I was wondering about shooting in black. Like, are you actually like opposed to shooting in color? Because a lot of
No, actually, most of my work is in color. I do have smaller images with me in color, but because I had all these more recent black and white ones. And first thing, I'm never opposed to anything. And as an artist, you have to find out why, what you want to do, how you want to do it. You're never
You don't want
opposed
to close any doors.
No, and I shoot mainly in color. I don't shoot as much in black and white. But the thing about processing color can be very difficult because you really have to have a sense of color. Color has its own imagination. You really have to, a really good color image maker is it's very hard. It can be but it's incredible.
Right. All right. There's another call coming in. No, I guess not. Oh, yeah, there it is.
Another
Okay, one more.
You're on.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Go ahead.
I really enjoy your tattooing. I have a couple tattoos myself.
Oh,
All right, the
Good.
tattoo picture, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we don't have a picture
You
phone.
ever shoved the pin up your asshole?
All right, well,
Yeah, well, that's
there's a way to wrap
a
it
great
up.
tattoo.
Well, we've only got a minute left. Is there any last picture we want to show while we're
let me
here?
see.
The last few seconds of the show. This is
Right
Let
there.
Them Talk.
Well, let me
I'm
show you the one.
DeRienzo.
This one I
is
love.
Joan
Okay.
Moossy.
This is actually in the show too. This is a friend of mine, my friend Maria. This is like when I said I like Buñuel or Hitchcock. I love this image because the simplicity of, her legs coming down, and this is what I think can be interesting about photography. It says you're looking at something, but it can say something else too. It can be kind
Ves
of.
Pitts, when is your show?
It's September.
That's September 7th.
Christopher Henry Gallery, September the 7th, 6 to 9 o'clock, 550 West 29th Street.
All right,
And-
thank you, Ves.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Ves.
Thanks
Happy
for
to have
having
you.
me.
Yeah, and thanks for the great pictures. They're wonderful.